that people are wondering, when is all this going to come to an end? And the emotional and the spiritual impact of these things, when is it all going to come to an end? And as religious people, we have certain practices, perhaps a recitation of texts, which are given in order to help us deal with emotional and spiritual and physical stress. But I would like to say, in this short few moments that are allotted to me, I would like to say something that has nothing to do with that, but something to do with, again, what the previous speaker has mentioned. God does not always teach from a book. God teaches through the universe itself. Muslim scholars describe it like this, that there's not actually one scripture, but there are two scriptures. There is the scripture, of course, as Muslims believe in the Quran. There is this scripture. But the universe itself is a scripture. The existence of everything is itself a scripture in the sense that it gives us guidance as to what to do and what to not do. It gives us clues as to what to do and what to not do. So, God created the universe, but God created, or at least allowed, everything that happens therein through events that are beyond human control, meaning that the moments of crisis that we face, that they have been given to us by God for a reason or for reasons. And that each individual or each community will receive a message, or I should perhaps say, will receive lessons that are unique to themselves. I would like to conclude by expressing these sincere thoughts that I hope that all of us, regardless of our religious label, and national and racial label, may we all be among those who receive the message, and who benefit therefrom. Thank you very much.
Beautiful remarks by both of my colleagues. So I want to focus a little bit about lessons learned, lessons to be learned. So I want to share with you something that perhaps many of you have seen by that famous poet, Anonymous. I heard that we are in the same boat, but it's not that. We are in the same storm, but not in the same boat. Your ship can be shipwrecked and mine might not be, or vice versa. For some, quarantine is optimal, a moment of reflection or reconnection. Easy and flip-flops with a whiskey or tea. For others, this is a desperate crisis. For others, it is facing loneliness. For some, peace, rest time, vacation. Yet for others, torture. How am I going to pay my bills? Some were concerned about a brand of chocolate for Easter. This year, there were no rich chocolates. Others were concerned about the bread for the weekend, or if the noodles would last for a few more days. Some were in their home office. Others were looking through trash to survive. Some want to go back to work because they are running out of money. Others want to kill those who break the quarantine. Some need to break the quarantine to stand in line with the banks, others to escape. Others criticize the government for the lines. Some have experienced the near death of the virus. Some have already lost someone from it. And some believe they are infallible and will be blown away if or when this hits someone they know. Some have faith in God and expect miracles during 2020. Others say the worst is yet to come. So friends, we are not in the same boat. We are going through a time when our perceptions and needs are completely different. And each one will emerge in his own way from that storm. It is very important to see beyond what is seen at first glance, not just looking, more than looking, seeing. See beyond the political party, beyond biases, beyond the nose on your face. Do not judge the good life of the other. Do not condemn the bad life of the other. Don't be a judge. Let us not judge the one who lacks, as well as the one who exceeds him. We are on different ships looking to survive. Let everyone navigate their route with respect, empathy, and responsibility. That poem sets the tone. So easy to judge. We start there. We start there as a starting point of how we view the other, how we view ourselves, how that one handles it and how we handle it, and we realize that we are all going through this experience in our own unique way, but at the same time, the pandemic has brought us closer together in realizing that we live on one planet, and perhaps there are shared lessons that we can all learn from what we're going through, even if we're not in the same boat. Being in the same storm, I think there are lessons to be learned. The first is that people's actions can have a global effect. So often we do think that what I do in my own property, in my own space, it's my own business. It doesn't impact or affect others. But we realize that the borders that we have between countries are artificial and political, but a virus doesn't know artificial or political boundaries. And so what happens here impacts what happens over there. The virus does not need our permission when it approaches our doorsteps. So remember, when making a decision, don't simply think about how it will affect you, but also how your decision will affect your family, community, country, and even the whole world. Secondly, we need to take care of our health. When we are healthy, it is so easy to take our life for granted. But perhaps we don't get enough sleep, we don't exercise regularly, we don't eat nutritious food, we engage in various vices, we don't observe proper hygiene. The coronavirus teaches us that no one is invincible, that everyone can get the virus. It does not play favorites, it does not discriminate. It does not care whether you are young and old, male or female, rich or poor. None of us are exempt. And so each one of us needs to take care of our health as much as possible. Thirdly, our society is fragile. We look around and in some cases we see society breaking down, and we see protests and riots and people who are acting out of anger and frustration, not just for a cause, but I think that the virus has magnified feelings that normally would be more contained. And so in their anger and frustration, depression, and feeling lack of, they take to the streets. But our society is fragile in other ways as well. We fail in a lot of aspects, our generation, and we have seen an unprecedented level of wealth and technological achievements. However, in spite of all this, we don't realize how fragile our society really is. It only has taken one pandemic to put this world that we take for granted to a halt. All of a sudden, we see people can easily become afraid and anxious. We see how businesses have closed down and how many people have depended on this system for sustenance. Instead of us depending on the food we grow, we have depended on the money we earn. And so we must move beyond this fragility and learn how we are interdependent one on the other, and that technology can only take us so far. It is the character of human beings that must grow. It is who we are that must be shaped. It is not only what we do, but what we believe, how the two are intertwined that matter most. Number 4, perhaps we have become too materialistic. The world is focused on the way of what we get rather than what we give. The society, with the help of media, is telling us that the only way to be happy is to get the latest car, the latest smartphone, the latest laptop, the most advanced TV. Well, take a look at what's happened these past 5 and 6 months. The sales of clothing and makeup have dropped. The sale of food risen. The basic core things that we need to survive, we've lost track of and become so materialistic. We are seeing more people enjoying gardening, exercising, talking with friends because of the free time that they have. And this, I feel, is a good thing. Fifthly, perhaps our focus should be spiritual. If we have learned that we take too much time to focus on the material, perhaps it's a reminder that we should focus on the spiritual. Think for a moment. When all of the distractions are taken away, we have to think, feel, relate to one another. It's not just having more free time. It's now what we are able to do with that free time. And for many of us, it's time now to focus on the spiritual. And lastly, we need not worry. The world is not only plagued with coronavirus, but it is also plagued with fear, panic, and anxiety. And so the sooner we realize that we are all in it together and that we are stronger together and that our strength comes from our confidence in each other, our patience with each other, and our love and respect for each other, the more we will focus not on what we have lost, but what we have gained. May this time be one for all of us of reflection, introspection, a time of unity. Thank you. And so we switch from these presentations to a more casual approach. I call upon my colleague, Reverend Jameson, who will lead us in a time of dialogue and exploration of some other issues related to this topic of the pandemic and unity.
Thank you, Rabbi. Catherine, Shams, will you come take a seat? Thank you so much for your presentations. Absolutely spot on, as always. And what I want to say at the outset is what you see in front of you is a demonstration of unity. And we in Southern Nevada have an interfaith council that we are quite proud of, because all of the traditions, both East and West,